All right, folks, we are back with another episode of the newly christened Pop Goes the Zebra. Once again, I am your host, Jeremy, and with me, of course, is my co host, Jesse. Jesse, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just enjoying the nice, lovely weather here in Tennessee before the next big cold snap.
Oh, Lord, don't even get me started on that. It's times like these, I go outside first thing in the morning, and I just kind of go, Jesus, why do I live in a place where it hurts to go outside? You
Yeah.
know, because like
Oh,
up,
hey,
up here
be
with that
glad
lake
be
effect,
glad we're not in
oof,
Oklahoma. I think they're getting
where
like
the wind comes sweeping down the plain. Sorry.
yeah. I think they're supposed to be getting like a bunch of snow, like 10, 12 inches,
Jeez.
right? Well, it's like I dodged the snowstorm that hit the East Coast when I flew up from Philly. It was just hitting when I left. So,
You got
well, of
out while the
course,
getting out was getting good. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know Chicago tends to have a lot of
Brother, there's winter everywhere else, and then there's winter in Chicago. And
Okay,
anybody from Chicago watching this will understand what I'm saying there.
okay,
Oof,
I've
snow
experienced
apocalypse.
I experienced snow in Michigan many, many years ago. Like it was beautiful one day, then the next day it was like 10 inches and I was like, "How did that happen?"
That reminds me of Germany. I was with the army. I was in Germany. It was July. I kid you not. You wake up, it was like 50 degrees. Got about midday, it was like 90 degrees. Got to nighttime, it freaking snowed. I kid you, I swear for God, it snowed. And I've never forgotten that. I had never experienced snow in July, but it happened. I was there, it happened.
I want to say that happened in Tennessee, but I may be misremembering because lots of crazy weather things happen in Tennessee. We've had tornadoes in December.
Lots of crazy things happen in Tennessee. I mean, hey,
Christmas tornado.
hey, Nashville Predators. Got you. Got you already. Got you
Boom.
already.
Yeah, we're playing Detroit tomorrow, so
How
let's
do you
see the
screw that one
stalemate.
up? We'll find out.
It'll be a stalemate of who's the worst team.
I feel like you're going to be watching the game and all of a sudden you're going to pull one of these out and we're going to have ourselves fun, Jesse. Speaking of which,
Oh, drunk Jesse's a fun Jesse, especially when he's
I
watching
look
hockey.
forward. I look forward to the day I meet him. He sounds like a good time. Give me just a minute. I am concocting excellence.
Yeah, no, that is a five-star beverage right there. Good
Yes,
old
sir.
rum and
This is
coke.
that's the dinner of champions right there. Rum and coke with a glass.
Uh,
I have to put my girlfriend over real quick. She got me a glass. I'm gonna put it up here in the chat screen. Fill it up. It says instant pirate. Just add rum.
yeah, I
So
absolutely
shout
have to
out to
have that.
Allison for that. I'll have to have her send me the link so you can get one because I
Yeah,
think
I absolutely have
this
to
is
have
like the
that.
perfect rum and coke glass. It's like the
It
perfect
is.
size.
It is. That man, that's making me want rum and coke right now, but I'm not
I
going to
mean,
because
I'm not going to pause the
I
chat for you, but I want you to feel like I was about to say
no,
that I'll pause the chat
no.
for you. But I'm not going to do it
I,
because I'm a dick.
uh, yeah, no, unfortunately, during the week I'm on call, so I can't really do that. So,
That's fair. That's fair.
it is what it is. But
So anyway, in case we should probably clue everybody in. In case you haven't noticed, we have yet to get to a point to all this, which is because there's really no real ABC point to this episode. What this simply is going to be is any tying up of loose ends of our introductory phase of what we're doing here on the channel. So tonight, what we're planning on doing, as lazy as it sounds, is we're just going to talk to you about what our interests are, what we're into, and pretty much who we are when we're not wearing those unflattering stripes that we wear on the weekends.
see,
So,
that's why I switched to polos.
see, I want to go to polos, but most of the places I work, with exception to a couple, and I'm not naming any names, most of those places I either have no interest in doing it or they leave it up to me to pony up the cash. And I'm but a humble peasant. I don't have that kind of, that kind of scratch to be buying. Then you got sizes, then you got, it's just a
I
mess.
I did that. I did that for Kapow. I got myself and three of the referees polos and put all of the logos on for them. New South, I convinced them because I found a really great black and orange polo. I'm like, hey, this is your colors. They're like, oh my God, we're gonna buy those. I'm like, yay.
See, and again, I think it just depends on the promotion. The promotions
Yeah.
that I've talked to about it are like, when you start talking about them fronting the cash, they're like, there's nothing wrong with the stripes, and then that's the end
Yeah,
of that
and
conversation.
yeah, and this is something I was kind of I tell any promotion I go work for is that if you want to be taken serious, you have to put money into your image and your product. And little things like that can,
See,
you
I'm
know,
not sure I technically really agree with that. I don't think that as far as a successful promotion goes in terms of whether or not the referees have their own special
oh,
uniforms is going to make or break or sink
oh
or
no, no,
swim,
no. It's not that. It's just one of those little things that you can add that's a subtle
Oh,
detail
it's
that
a nice
people will
detail, yeah, but
well, it's so much like just having the company logo. So long as like you got the company logo that can be seen in pictures or on turnbuckle pads, it's
or
marketing.
just on the big giant canvas like, most of the places we co-work at have started to do.
Oh man, have you seen some of the canvas art that's been floating around there?
I
Man, those
saw some
guys,
pictures online, yeah,
man,
on the old
I
Twitter
okay,
machine.
the old Twitter machine. Yeah, I some of those like the GCW canvases, they are pretty
Yeah,
snazzy.
GCW does not spare any expense on those canvases, and it clearly shows. It reminds me also, obviously, of my one of my home promotions being Warrior. We got the big giant yellowish gold Warrior logo right there on a black canvas. That really pops off the screen too.
Yeah, I thought you guys were a bunch of Vegas Knights fans.
No, we were around before they were.
Oh, I
I
know.
think. I think.
I said the
No,
same thing.
2018. So carry the three. Fuck, I think actually they were. They were around
Yeah,
before. No, technically the school was around before the Vegas Knights though. So because
true.
it's the logo of the school mascot. So
Yeah,
technically, yeah, Vegas Knights are a fan of us. Shout out to
that's
Marion
fair.
Catholic High School there in Chicago Heights. Love you, Steve.
Uh,
Look forward to seeing you soon, bud.
uh, but no, it's like that's such a really cool talent to learn is like to to paint on a big canvas like that.
Oh
And
man, I suck at penmanship. My handwriting looks like a 3-year-old, like
oh
had hiccups while it was writing with its offhand. And yeah, I
yeah,
can't. I have no touch for any type of written artistry whatsoever.
see, my handwriting's not bad when I concentrate on it, but if I'm like in a hurry, I'll scribble to where I can read it, but nobody else can.
It's that chicken
But yet,
scratch mentality, man.
yeah, but then, you know, as much damage as my hand has gotten, I can still do like so we're talking about hobbies and stuff. I'll work on model kits or model railroading, and it's painting little details and stuff like that. Like I still have the control in my hand to do it, but then handwriting absolutely, or writing out for what I have to do, like reports and documents and stuff. My hand just wants to hurt. Or when I go to play guitar, it's the same thing. Like,
Dude, guitar. I'm gonna just be straight blunt with you. I've been playing guitar for close to about 15 years and learned zero musical theory. I just started with chords and worked my way there. I cannot play an F chord to save my. I can't do the open, and playing the bar chord just hurts my hand because like I'll end up
yeah, it's
like
a
straining.
weird.
It's just hurts. So
See,
anytime I see a song that has F in it, I immediately go F. You know.
well, it's like the way I do the F and C chords is I have these two fingers very, very close to each other. So I play a variation of it. But yeah,
That's why I just do drop D and hit it up here. That's F to me.
yeah, I
Why
play a
can't
lot.
that be F?
That's why I play a lot of stuff in standard tuning. Just I I learned a lot of substitute chords. That's the biggest thing. That's how I get around like not being able to play particular chords is I learn a variation of the chord and will play that instead because it
there
hurts my
was
hand less.
there was a funny video that I saw floating around the internet one time. It's like you know teenagers when they discover a drop tuning and it cuts to like that dawn of man, quest for fire thing where the chimps start jumping up and down. Like
Oh.
yeah.
I so
I was like, guilty.
Yeah. Okay. So funny enough, the first drop D song that I ever learned was "Fat Bottom Girls" by
Theater of
Queen.
Men by Nickelback.
Two completely different ends of the spectrum.
That's why I did that.
Yep. See, I'm a classic rock guy, so I went with
Fat
Queen.
bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
Great song. It was a pain to learn because when I first originally learned it, I had maybe been playing guitar for a couple years and just I'm like you. I never learned music theory. I can't read music.
I can
Learned
read
by
tab. I can't play tab. Like I cannot do any type of scaling. I cannot solo. That is,
yeah.
I play rhythm.
Well, see, I'm primarily a bass player, so everything that I do is rhythm based. So playing guitar, as much as I want to play lead Queen stuff,
Hello, you've got a bass.
uh, yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, just everything I play is like more chord driven. Like I should learn to really play. I have
I'll
so
get
much.
around to it sooner or later.
I have so much money invested in different guitars and basses, and I'm probably gonna buy. I'm gonna make one crazy purchase soon. Getting a
Schecter.
real. No, see, You're gonna go for Schecter. I'm going for a proper Brian May Red Special because, like I
Oh
said, I'm a
well.
huge Queen fan.
There's
Uh,
nothing wrong with that. I just like Schecter. I think they have a good product, and I hope that one day
I've
that we'll get big enough that they'll start sponsoring us because I want all of the Schecters.
so I owned a Schecter Diamond at one point, and it was a great guitar. Just way the pickups were way too hot for what I wanted to play.
Yeah, that if there's one thing, actually, there's two things. One of them I'm nitpicking on. If there's one thing that I could peg them on in terms of drawbacks, it's definitely that those pickups they're
Super
not for
hot.
they're not for everybody. But
And
the other thing is you have to solder that input every so often. But that's a lot of guitars though. So I'm nitpicking
uh
here.
I had a Gretsch that I bought brand new and had to have the toggle switch replaced because apparently that was a problem with
Ooh,
Gretches.
oh, that reminds me of a story that my guitar teacher told me many moons ago. Because back when I was first looking for like my first real electric guitar, that eventually ended up becoming my Cubby Blue Schecter guitar. Uh, I was throwing out ideas. Maybe I'll get a Fender. Maybe I'll get a one of those BB King style semi hollow. One of
The
those.
Gibson
Yeah,
305s.
yeah. And I said, maybe I'll get an Ibanez. And my teacher literally went, wait, don't do that. I was like, what? Because I'm like 15, 14, 15. What did I do? He's like, so I saw an article where a guy went into just like a random guitar center somewhere in the world. I forget where it was. This is a long time ago. But he walked up to like the $600-700 Ibanez guitars they had, and he took a piece of sandpaper and he sanded away at the paint, and it was nothing but like filler wood. It wasn't even like the wood that they advertised it being. And if he said if they're doing that with like the mid-range what most people buy, imagine what they're
The
doing with
low
their
end.
the low end and the upper ends too. Like
Uh,
they're yeah. So from that day forward, I was like, I'm not touching Ibanez. No
you
offense to
know,
any Ibanez people out there, but I'm sorry, I can't trust you.
I don't think I know any of my music friends that have Ibanez guitars.
The guy that really got me into playing guitar, his name was Derek Lucas, and I grew up going to church with him. Uh he had this just black glossy Ibanez, and he would just play the knobs off of that thing. And so that's why I threw it out there, because we actually had the same teacher. He was just a better student than I was. Uh, but so that was why I threw that out there. And Paul, our teacher, brother Paul, he's like, maybe not. And I was like, okay. So
Yeah, I went through so many different guitar brands when I was younger trying to find something that was good. I always ended up going back to Epiphone because A, they were affordable, and
yeah,
B, I always ended up finding something that worked really well. The one I have now is I've got a 2016 60s Relic SG with P90 pickups. So I've got the Pete Townsend guitar. Being a huge Who fan, I've got that live at Leeds guitar, so I can get that live at Leeds sound.
My first guitar teacher passed away. His name was Jim. He had this 1968 Sunburst Les Paul classic. Just he brought it in one time and he let me play that son of a gun. And I'll tell you what, I've never heard a guitar sound anything like that since. It was just like, it was like that spotlight from heaven came down.
Yep.
Choir of eight, and just, I was like, oh, I played that first power chord. I was like, oh.
So it's something about the reason why vintage guitars are so sought after is because they're broke in.
Yeah.
The electronics have had time to finally like get their
settle into their sweet spot.
The neck, it finally has like the finish worn off to where it's comfortable to play. And it's like, you can relic a brand new guitar all you want, but nothing beats having something that was played and aged and it has that sound.
Kind of reminds me of that episode of King of the Hill where Hank loses his favorite pair of jeans and Bobby's taking the home ec class and he takes like the sander to this new pair of jeans and breaks it in, and Hank's like, oh, I'll tell you what, Bobby, that's really good. Oh, and
you reference King of the Hill. My roommate had it on when I got home, and the episode that was on was That's My Purse, I Don't Know You.
That's my purse, I don't know you.
We were laughing so hard because King of the Hill is such a great show.
I love King of the Hill. I will never apologize for loving good animated humor. I kind of said at one point that shows like King of the Hill and Family Guy and things in that vein, they were kind of the future of television because they're cheaper to produce. They're easy to get into the can. It requires less wear and tear on your actors. Why? And you can do more with it. The only limitation is your imagination. And I was right for a little bit, but then this little thing called the computer happened, and now it's a completely different animal than what I thought it was gonna be back in the late 90s.
Yeah, see,
thanks, George Lucas.
Yeah, to jump off the guitar topic, I want to get back on that, but no, King of the Hill is one of my top adult animated shows. Futurama's my top tier.
See, I don't hate Futurama. I've just never watched it. I couldn't get into it. I never understood the draw to it. It's kind of like
get past the first season, and
I
like
know
season
about
2, season
the dog though, and that's the other problem I've got is I know eventually the dog is going to come up. And
that's not the worst one. That's not the worst one.
It's the worst one for me because I know about the damn dog. You're talking to the guy that still cries at the end of the first Homeward Bound where the dog comes up over the hill and music starts playing and he lets out that Peter and just fucking waterworks, dude. So
okay, no,
I am not watching a dog break his heart. That's why I won't watch Marley and Me.
There are 2 other episodes, and if I remember correctly, the next one that absolutely guts me is in season 1 or season 2, and it's Luck of the Fryish. So anybody that's watching this will immediately know, okay, that episode is bad. And then there's one in 7 or 8 where Fry gets to telepathically communicate with his mom. And that one wrecked me. That one hit me as hard as, if not worse than Jurassic Park. And that one screws me up.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Fallout New Vegas, and there's an Easter egg in one of the DLCs that screwed me up.
Of course.
Yep. I think what was it? Lonesome Road. And you go into a cave, and on top of a filing cabinet is a dog statue that says Seymour, and I go, well,
see, yeah, like I said, I respect its place in the pantheon of good animation. I am not going to subject myself to that kind of emotional trauma. That is not for me.
Oh, I did that with Toy Story 4 and was messaging my girlfriend while I was watching it. And I'm like, honey, I am emotionally compromised.
I broke down in the middle of the theater watching the third one where they're on the conveyor belt there.
I did too.
At the junkyard, and they pretty much resigned themselves to their fate. And I was like, this is a perfectly logical explanation. And it's Disney, so everybody's gonna die anyway,
I was with a few wrestlers, and we all kind of grew up in that same time frame, and we were all like, just
Yep. Oh, dude,
ugly
no shit.
crying. It
My
was
my girlfriend gives me all the shit. She says I cry like a little bitch, like every time. Of course, I said, honey, I cried watching the show. She's like, of course you did. You know, you cry over everything. Thanks, honey.
oh
But
man.
no,
But that's a sign of a well written story when it hits you and you're just like, why am
you
I
know what?
crying?
You know what else? You know what else I cry in? I think all I've got to do is do this. You know what I'm
Uh,
talking about.
yep.
Every time, every
Yep.
time. You
Yep.
know,
Oh, that was such a good one too, though.
so superior to the first one. So superior.
Absolutely. We're not saying the name of the movie because you got to be smart to know that reference.
You must understand what we're talking about.
Oh, so good. Man, I haven't watched that one in forever.
Dude, the 90s were such a weird time. It's hard to believe that something that great. There are a lot of great movies that came out of the 90s, and that's one of them. Like
Oh
that,
yeah.
obviously Jurassic Park, Titanic,
Fun fact, very first movie that I ever
Armageddon.
saw. Yeah, very first movie that I ever saw in the movie theater was Jurassic Park.
Didn't see it in the movie theater. I saw it at a friend's house, but I was hooked almost immediately. And then
Mhm.
I got a hold of the book, and that was great, man. I went down the Michael Crichton rabbit hole. I love all of his works, and so much so I have like every one of his books on audiobooks somewhere or another. I have it because I'm a big fan of audiobooks. So like I'll rock that.
Uh, I really need to start getting into audiobooks because I spend a lot of
It's
time bored in a patrol car, so I'm
yes, you do.
burning through podcasts.
Harry
So it's like,
Potter, you got to get
ugh.
the Jim Dale. I will reach for this camera and choke you.
So fun fact, as nerdy as I am, don't like Harry Potter.
You can redeem yourself with the following question: Lord of the Rings.
It's all right. I will not go out of my way to watch those movies, but if they're on, I'll sit and watch it. If Harry Potter's on, I'll leave the room.
Okay, first off, screw those movies. All right, I'm not talking about the damn movies. I'm talking about the books, son. There's
Books,
a if
so I
you've read
read I
Jurassic Park and seen the movie, you understand where I'm going with this. There's a big difference
they're
between the book and the
completely
movie.
I get it. I get it. They're completely different. Uh I have never been able to fully read all of those books because
That's
I
why you got to
have
do the audiobook.
audiobooks kind of my thing because I have the worst attention span at times. And I'll start a book and I'm like, I'll come back to this. And it sits on my shelf for like 3 years.
I'm the same way. I got the book that the Hamilton musical was based off
Oh
of,
man.
and I'm like 18 pages in, and my life got super busy coming out of that Christmas vacation time, and it's still sitting
Yep.
on the coffee table in my living room. And
I have two astronaut biographies sitting right just off here that I was reading, and they're really great. They've been there for a year at least.
is one of them the one where they send the two space shuttles up and they slingshot around the asteroid and they do the nuclear thing, and Steven Tyler sings a love song while his daughter's getting porked on screen?
Oh god. So, fun fact about NASA and Armageddon, as a fun little joke test for new astronaut candidates, I don't know if they still do it, but they make them watch the movie and they have them write down everything that is inaccurate in that movie. There's like
I would just put 95% and be done with it.
they ask them to look for like specific things, and
Oh,
there's some apparently trick things in there that like the science would legitimately work, and people think, oh, that's not going to work, and no, that's a real thing. So fun little NASA fact.
I'm somehow balking at the idea that we could send shuttles up to a hurling meteor, land on it, drill, drop a nuke in there, take off, and get out of the blast radius.
Everything about
All in
that
the
statement,
span of 10 minutes.
everything about that cannot happen.
I know.
So
But
there
if
was
that asteroid comes, we're screwed.
we're not going to know it's coming. It's just going to be like, oh, hey, giant
Hey,
space rock.
what's that thing? Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Speaking of, Dinosaurs is on Disney Plus, so I can't wait to go back
Haven't
and watch
seen
that.
that one. Or are we talking about the Disney dinosaur? Or are we talking about not the mama?
Not the mama.
Not the mama. I grew up watching that, kid. What you talking about? Dinosaurs.
That's what I said. It's on Disney Plus now. So I'm going to go back and rewatch those because that show was fantastic.
Not the mama.
Not the mama.
Oh. Still a running gag in the house. Start the
I
frying pan.
the frying pan.
Not the mama.
The bad thing is I can't remember the dad. It was something Sinclair. What was the dad's?
I'm totally not reaching for my phone right now and putting in my password and looking up the name right now. Totally not. I'm just kind of looking off into space at the moment, vamping for time as I am not putting in the thing, But I believe the character's name was Earl Sinclair, but I could be wrong.
Thank you. Oh man. So back on the topic of 90s stuff, man, I think we got spoiled.
We had
Legitimately.
Urkel. We were at the tail end of the Cosby Show, Home Improvement, The Simpsons.
Oh, dude.
South Park was a thing before too long.
Okay, so
all the movies.
What I'm talking about
Walkman.
is, oh god,
yeah, they don't skip my ass.
Yeah, bullshit. Be on a school bus and it hits every damn
maybe
pile.
the ones that aren't bought at Walmart. Yeah, the Target ones didn't skip, but the ones bought at Walmart and the dollar store certainly did.
I was like the Dollar General one. Like
some of y'all had rich parents and didn't appreciate it until much later in life.
Yeah. No. So something I noticed, like, there's a weird camp between 90s kids was like, were you a Nickelodeon fan or were you a Cartoon Network fan?
I was neither because I didn't have cable until I was like 13. Okay, and by then, like, I was getting into music and girls and TV. I was PlayStation a lot. I got the PS2 and yeah, I stopped watching a lot of television. I'd watch the sports get ball and that was it. And and wrestling, obviously.
There were so many great shows that were on Nickelodeon, like the live action shows, and then Cartoon Network had a lot of the great.
I think I was a Cartoon Network guy because we used to go to a friend's house for New Year's Eve, and they had cable or satellite or whatever the hell they had, and I'd watch the hell out of George of the Jungle and Space Ghost. Didn't understand Space Ghost, but George of the Jungle, I watched the hell out of that.
I forgot that there was a George of the Jungle cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Ren and Stimpy, I think, was on there at one point.
No, Ren and Stimpy was on Nickelodeon. That was
a late night. Okay, but I remember looking for Cartoon Network because I was like, oh, cartoons,
Yeah, because after 9 o'clock it went to Toonami, and it was like from 9 to midnight, and then midnight was like,
I don't know why I'm holding this hockey puck.
Like Space Ghost was on, Oh Canada. There were like two or three other adult.
Two Stupid Dogs, I'm wanting to say.
That was on. That was like early morning. Like if you stayed up, like that would come on.
Well, it was a New Year's Eve party. Of course I did.
Yeah. Shows like Cow and Chicken, which was really messed up thinking about it.
When you go back and you watch some of these old shows that you grew up watching, isn't it fun when you catch that reference that you never thought about before, that you're like, that was totally not intended for my age bracket. That was for the older people.
Everything that I watch from back then, I'm like, wow, that really went over my head. And you're just like, oh, Mom, let me watch that.
Wow, I had terrible human beings for parents. Like.
But it's just, I don't know. I guess it's because maybe it's because
my parents are wonderful people. I love my mother and father very much. I'm just pulling their leg.
Yeah. I think maybe it's because we were kids and we didn't have the responsibility that I think we look back at the 90s
Oh,
with
I was a terrible kid. I went out of my way to look for the most like awful thing I could find to watch, just because like all my other friends weren't allowed to do it, so I would go out of my way to find that taboo thing to watch, just to be the one that did it, you know.
yeah, well, what I'm saying is like we look back at like the wrestling figures that were out in the 90s,
I
the
loved
game
those.
the game consoles, like I said, the TV shows, the movies, the music. So everybody knows who knows me personally knows that I'm a huge classic rock fan. I love oldies, but I have such a huge soft spot for 90s pop music because anytime I listen
Bop, doo, bop, bop, you,
anytime
bop,
I listen to
doo,
it, it
bop, bop,
reminds me
mhm,
of
mhm,
a
mhm,
happier,
mhm,
youthful time.
mhm. Dude,
I think
if I could go back to the 90s, I hate to be old man shakes fist at Sky here, but if I could go back to the 90s, it'd be the happiest moments of my life. Before
it
before everything went south with like the invention of boy bands and
I
MTV reality
I
TV
feel
shows.
like if I had been say 17 or 18 at the start of the 90s when you could appreciate things a lot more, like have the money to buy the cool wrestling figures, have the money to buy the game consoles.
There's this little thing called Yahoo and Google and Amazon. Invest in that, you know?
Oh yeah, knowing what we know now, it's like,
Google
oh,
is the Amazon is the Apple computer of our age, you know, or GameStop maybe. I don't know what I'm
I
aware that there is something going on in the stock market world and GameStop is a part of it, but I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But topical
I
reference
I remember being able to surf eBay on a thing called Web TV.
doesn't ring
So
a bell.
yeah, that shows like the very very low tier internet
Bro,
access that I had.
it did not take me very long to discover porn, and after that, that's all I thought that the internet was good for.
I
Took me a
didn't
while to
all
realize that there's this thing called YouTube and MySpace, and
see that's the thing. I never growing up and only until very recently, I've never owned a computer. I always borrowed somebody else's or would get on the
cleared the
computer with
web
somebody else.
browser very quickly. Ah, no.
Delete, 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 delete.
Why won't it delete?
Be careful what you start typing in that Google search bar. It's like, oh no. Oh,
Let's
no,
see. I'm going to do a report on dictators. Ah!
yeah, I was never that was not me. Uh,
Oh, dude,
unfortunately.
puberty hit me upside the head with a 2x4 and then brought a couple more trucks in full of 2x4s.
Woo. Uh, this got off the rails quick. Um,
Just being real.
yeah, but uh, man, I really wish that I could live through the 90s as an adult, just for gas being like $1 a gallon and you could go grocery shopping for like $20. You know, that
I
because I'm
vividly remember my grandfather filling up his old Ford Ranger and coming back one day and saying, "Man, you just can't gas your car up for $20 anymore." That's always stuck in my head.
God, I do remember my parents complaining about, oh, the price of gas is getting over $1.
Yeah, right. Like we lived like where gas was like $1.05, $1.07, a gallon, and that was that. You could go to the local rent a shop and get a video game for the day or whatever, and for like 50 cents on the dollar, and all that crazy stuff. Pizza Hut was fine dining, all that
I
stuff. And
remember when
now,
Pizza Hut came out with the stuffed crust pizza.
oh,
That
dude, I do
blew
too.
my mind.
I remember when Pizza Hut was like the place to go after the local high school sporting event. You went to the Pizza Hut, man. That is where the elite of the elite went. And you were
Yep.
somebody if you went and you got invited to go to Pizza Hut with somebody, and you had that two pizza special going with the 2 liter of your choice of soda, and they had the red glasses, and it's just like, oh my God, we're old. Oh my God, that just hit me over the head like puberty.
Oh no, so yeah, that kind of sucks. Now that anybody that's gonna watch this is gonna have that same like
It'll
shit.
happen to you.
You.
That episode of The Simpsons. I used to be with it, and now it
Right.
scares me, and I don't know what it is. It'll happen to you.
And that's kind of where we're at
It
now. It's like
happened to me a while back, and I've just graciously accepted it and gone with it and made a joke of it.
I
That's all
feel
you
I
can do.
feel I feel weird now because like one of the referees that I put over in the first episode, my buddy Aaron Noyce, Shiny Shoes,
Oh, I know
because like
him.
he
His shoes are shiny.
yeah. Uh so whenever I'm on shows with him, he's like, "Yay, I'm with Uncle Jesse." And I'm like, that
Couldn't be
makes me
cool big brother Jesse or cool friend Jesse. It's got to be
that makes me
old,
feel
old
old.
Jesse. Yeah. It's like
Like
that meme of Metal Gear, old Snake. You know, the psyche meter goes down. Dude, I was at a basketball game last night at the high school, and I was talking to somebody and said, yeah, man, back in my day, and just like that brief little Ally McBeal moment where I looked into the imaginary camera, just like,
the fact that you just referenced Ally McBeal.
my mother watched that religiously. I remember that as a kid. Like we had to stop over. I don't even remember what I'm
That
thinking. It's
was
like
the I
Tuesday
think
or a
that might have
Thursday
been
or something.
that's the first time I remember hearing Hooked on a Feeling was that Dancing Baby. Ooga, ooga. Yeah.
No, I remember that is because that's the first time I was ever conscious of Robert Downey Jr. So when he became big later as Tony Stark, I was like, he was Ally McBeal's love interest like 8 years ago. Calm down, he ain't shit, you know.
We remember when Robert Downey Jr. was not.
Was the Hollywood bad boy, you know.
Yep.
Now he's embraced a different role in life, and God bless him for it. I love the work he would do for the Children's Hospital, and he'd come as Tony Stark and Iron Man and all that stuff. That was pretty dope.
Yeah. Well,
That speaking of things that'll make me tear up, I'm a sucker for stuff like that. I admit it.
Oh.
Oh, shut up.
Well, I do the charity stuff here with the Tennessee Ghostbusters.
There you
So
go.
we do something very similar.
Yep.
We're just not as cool. Ghostbusters, we wanted He-Man.
Dude, I remember watching that cartoon growing up. I didn't watch Ghostbusters, the movie, until later. I watched the cartoon where they're walking down this street and it's bad animation and they're doing the little, you know.
Yep.
That Eek the dude, Saturday morning cartoons, Eek the Cat, Bobby's World.
Bobby's World.
You know, fucking
Freakazoid was on.
I didn't really get into Freakazoid that much.
I did.
I was an Animaniacs guy. Batman, the Animated Adventures was my go-to.
Did you see the Animaniacs reboot on Hulu?
Yeah. I was really big into Animaniacs back in the day, and I'm kidding. Like it's all right, but like I feel like they're trying too hard.
It was literally done. It was literally done because we're trying too hard. That's all it was. I liked it.
It was okay, but like some of the characters were like missing. Like I wanted to see Mindy and Buttons. I wanted to see Rita and Runt. I wanted to see Katie Kaboom. All that stuff. Like I wanted Animaniacs back. I didn't want like the greatest hits. We're just gonna do a couple of Animaniacs sketches and then the obligatory Pinky and the Brain. Which don't get me wrong, I love Pinky and the Brain. Narf, but yes, but like after like a couple episodes, it's like, all right, where's everybody else? Where's Slappy? I loved Slappy Squirrel. That was like my spirit animal for a long time. You know.
Yeah.
You remind me of a very young Scooby-Doo.
The best one that they did was
Bumpy's mom is dead.
What's the name of the band on stage? Who's on stage? Yes.
The Who's at the no.
Yes isn't even at this concert.
I knew it was coming, but I knew we were screwed when they're doing the opening number and Bill Clinton plays the sax is not included. I was like, here we go.
Yeah,
All
you're
right, so
right.
it's gonna be this kind of show. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, we're doing this. Oh, damn. I got so
so
excited, and now we're doing that. Okay.
so I love how this tangent's gone from guitars to animated shows to the 90s. Like
With the
this would be
lights
so
out, it's less dangerous.
it
Or is
Jesus.
it?
This would be way worse if I was drinking too. I think one of us has to be the the designated
Is
sober
that going to be
guy.
one of the running gags? Is one of us is the designated host?
Yeah.
Ah, screw that. No, 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 no. As long as we promise
Oh no,
neither
no,
of
no,
us are
no.
driving anywhere, we're
We're
good.
g- no, one of the nights we're gonna have to. I think it might be our sports talk. That'll be the night where we both of us are just basically screaming into the computer. No, no, put it down. Put it down. Put it down.
What's that do for you? Yeah, Hawks win. Hawks win. I'm so
Uh,
sorry that the rest of you had to put up with that. I apologize, but he is a Nashville Predators fan. I'm a Blackhawks fan. They're like the annoying little brother that thinks that they belong at the big kids table, but they never quite meet the height requirement, and they can't ever sit at the big people's table. Whereas the Hawks, they have sat at the big kids table like 6 times now, while Nashville's still trying to get an invite to the table. But anyways, yeah, more or less. Am I missing anything? Is there
at
anything you
least
want to add to that statement?
Philly's gotten a few cups at least, so I've got that going for me,
When?
which is nice.
When? It doesn't
Uh,
count if you weren't alive.
eh,
When? When?
don't make me brain.
Don't make your brain.
Don't
Uh,
make me brain.
hey, you can say to your grandchildren you were alive the last time the Cubs won a World Series. I mean, you got that going for you.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's fun to
I mean,
say, isn't it? The Cubs won the World Series.
I've got a friend that is a very excellent prop maker, and he made the World Series trophy
There you go.
for that.
There
And
you go.
he would take it to conventions wearing Cubs stuff, and people thought it looks just like the real thing. So
The flag. I've never quite understood what they're going for with that, but like I guess it looks all right. It's no Stanley Cup, I'll admit.
that's kind of my thing. It's like the Stanley Cup. It's
I've
like
been in the room with the Stanley Cup.
I have touched the Stanley Cup,
I've never gotten a chance. I was
or
at the convention a couple,
I've
one
touched
of
one of the
the traveling
variants,
cups.
the traveling
But
cups
no,
at least.
the Stanley Cup was at two Hawks conventions that I attended. I stopped going once the social wall kind of came. That it happens with any team that starts at the bottom and achieves success. You start really feeling that divide between the team and the common fan. In the beginning with the Blackhawks, like they're out hanging with you at the party and at the end of the Saturday night convention, and by the second cup, that was gone. You got the Rockford guys, if you were lucky, the Rockford Ice Hogs being like the minor league team, and like you started being more aware of their handlers, and like at the Q&A sessions you had to screen the questions through the guy, and that guy would ask the question for you, and it was just like, all right, you're no longer the people's team, you're a corporate team. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of how a lot of sports
Yep.
teams have gotten, football especially.
How about that parade we had as we're recording this today? Tom Brady had himself a good day from the looks of it. You seen that
Apparently, he
video?
had
He had a
avocado
real good
tequila.
day. Yeah.
I'm
I've
like,
never seen that man look so saucy in his life. Like he's always been straight laced, button up Tom, and then I see dude doing a weekend at Bernie's where he's got that handler just dragging him into the building, and he's just like barely
I
able to
haven't
stand.
seen any of the video of it yet. I plan on scrolling the
Uh,
social medias in a
it's
bit.
it's good for a chuckle.
Ah,
I saw that at
I've
work today. I started dying.
so I've always said that, and of course you'll probably balk at this, but the Predators will bring a championship to Nashville before the Tennessee Titans will. Yeah, that's gonna make you kind of go like, huh?
Hmm.
Because both teams have come
Uh,
this close,
I think if
and
on today, February the 10th, 2021, I think that the Titans are closer in theory to a championship than the Predators are, but I've been wrong before. I think that they have a lot more offensive capability than the Nashville Predators do, which has always been the line on the Predators. They have great defense, they have great goaltending, they're
horrible offense.
offensively anorexic.
Oh, and so is the power play.
Oh, dude, Chicago's not had a power play in like 12 years, so I'm with you.
Dude, that's so now we're on the sports tangent. That is one of like my biggest like screaming points in the house is like, oh my
A
God,
power play.
it's power play. It's
Coach
like,
Q,
oh hey, why don't you go ahead and get a shorthanded goal against us because we're not going to do anything with the power play.
Joel Quenneville, formerly of the Chicago Blackhawks, said famously in an interview one time that if you don't score on the 5-on-3, you're probably not going to win. And it's always rang in my head. We get a 5-on-3. I'm like, oh my God, we have to score here. And if they don't, I'm like, no, we're going to lose.
Nashville has blown so many 5-on-3s, it's ridiculous.
You
Which
know,
I wanted I had to double check to see what was the score from last night. 6-1 Tampa Bay.
well, here's the thing on that. Tampa Bay is going to smack a lot of people. It's their time right now.
Oh yeah, they're
And
red hot.
yeah, and they were, it wasn't even like they got hot in the playoffs. They were hot before the shutdown. They were hot the year before. And let's be honest, they're going to stay hot for a couple more seasons until the cap
You
causes
know
them to have
what?
to sell the farm.
Honestly, I thought it was 2018. I thought Tampa Bay had a pretty damn good chance.
I
And
thought in
then
2016 they had or 2015 they had a pretty damn good chance. I
yeah,
was sweating bullets because I was like, that was really when I started to notice the league is caught up with us. We're not the fastest team on the ice anymore. We're one of the fastest teams on ice. And
yeah,
we got through that by the skin of our teeth.
yeah, I remember that being a very interesting year. And I mean, for what this year is going to be, like this not full season, I think it's going to be a whole different field of teams
Yeah,
that
you
make it.
say that, but the second we get to the traditional Stanley Cup playoffs, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Because by then, I think we'll have some fans in attendance if things keep trending the way they are with the vaccine getting out, things like that. I'm hoping that we'll at least get like 20% capacity, something like that, where you
Nashville Nashville has like I think like 10% capacity or something
yeah,
like that.
something something where it's notable on screen if you're watching from home that yes, there are people there. Yes, they're not piping in the noise. That is the actual authentic sound in the arena.
I've got a friend that's going tomorrow night to the Detroit game.
Mm.
So she's excited about it and I'm like, "Well, at least you got tickets."
I'll tell you what. I went with a friend to a show, a wrestling show, up in Detroit before the Joe closed down, and I'm a Chicago Blackhawks guy through and through, but it was one of the better experiences of my life to step foot in
In the Joe.
the hockey museum that was the Joe Louis Arena. Like
I wanted
that was hockey holy ground.
Yeah, see, I have been lucky enough to I've got family that's just outside Detroit and I wanted to visit the hockey Museum, but I never got a chance to go because my family's like, yeah, you're a Predators fan. We're not taking you anywhere near Detroit. So they were smart. They were very,
Yeah,
very smart because I was a little instigator then. So I
yeah.
probably would have died.
Detroit likes to act like they still call the shots around here, but we know that their time is coming on.
I need to keep quiet about that because my roommate's a huge Wings fan. So
Well, your roommate has a lot of things going for him. Apparently, his hockey team is not one of them.
Man, we're having stuff redone in the house, and I know he's gonna have a couple jerseys framed, and I'm gonna have to come in and see those. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, so
Can of spray
let's.
paint is like $8 at the hardware store. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but one of the jerseys is actually really cool. It is a game worn jersey from the '08 Stanley Cup, and it's signed by the team. So
Mm.
that's kind of like you don't want to. That's kind of you don't want to mess with that. If it was like
Mm.
one of your standard off the shelf sweaters, but that one's
Ones
I
that
know.
still have the tags on them. Yeah, I hate those. I hate seeing people that still have the tag on their hockey jersey. I saw that a lot at the conventions. You know, who's this panel's got Jonathan Toez, Toez, Say Brock, Say Brock. And this is about the time I started drinking more consistently than I normally would. I would add. So that was about the time I stopped going to the conventions up here. I was just like, you know
Yeah,
what? I'm done with this because you guys are making this not fun for the people that actually watched every game this season and went to a few of the practices and actually gave a damn about this team before they started winning.
yeah, and sports fandom is so weird uh, because you're either people look at it as like fair weather fans, bandwagon fans. Uh, for those of us who've kind of just sat here and been like eating shit for so long, being a Nashville fan, we're consistently eating it, but we're still.
It's because
I
you
still.
guys are. I mean, nothing.
Okay.
I am never ever going to be allowed to step foot in the city of Nashville ever. That place will explode the second I walk in.
So when things get back to normal and there's wrestling shows running, I'm not going to vouch for you coming
I'm
down to
just gonna do. I'm gonna do a
Nashville.
run in one night wearing my Blackhawks jersey and just give you the old Iggy right in the back.
So when we were in Indianapolis, I knew you and I were going to share a locker room, but the night that we shared the locker room, my Predators jersey was in the car and I didn't wear it. And I was going to wear it specifically to irritate you.
Oh, it wouldn't have irritated me. I'd have ribbed the ever loving dog piss out of you. Like I wouldn't even sold it. I'd have just
It
made
would
your
have been
night
great. It would have been great
miserable.
though, because everybody would have thought we hated each other.
Oh God. Oh God, that wouldn't that have been funny?
Well, so how we kind of got this whole idea for the podcast together was you and I
Yep.
literally going to war on Twitter and people probably thinking that we hate each other.
No.
And it was like
No.
just us absolutely tearing into each other about hockey. And it's like, that's what hockey fans
Oh
do.
God, yeah. Half the fun of being a sports fan is talking shit to the other guy.
Well, like baseball kind of has it, football doesn't really have it. College football, on the other
Oh,
hand,
college football. Okay, so I got to tell you a story. Um, so my buddy Jake is a big Ohio State fan, and I would play a
I
lot of online gaming with him. So I was kind of adopted into the Ohio State fan club. I don't have a college football team. I cheer for whoever's playing Duke in basketball and whoever's playing Alabama in football. You know, outside of that, I don't give a damn. As long as I'm entertained by it and I can eat a copious amount of hot wings, I'm good. But my brother is in high school. He plays basketball. He's got a friend on the team whose little brother is a big Michigan fan. So I started just ripping into him one night because Ohio State just ate Michigan alive in a game, right? And I was like, "Hey, how about that game last night?" He's like, "Yeah. Hey, since when are you an Ohio State fan?" I was like, "Dude, I've been a lifelong Ohio State fan for exactly the past month." And just like he had no response to that. So it's been a running joke with him. In fact, he had a birthday and they live nearby. We're friends with him. And so we drew up this Ohio State logo because in Indiana, Northwest Indiana, you're not going to get one. We drew it
Yeah.
up. We made this flag, and this is like during the lockdown when no one's allowed to go out public. We made this flag, and like they were doing this drive-by birthday party for him. We drove by, we hopped out of the car, planted the flag, we hit it with all sorts of like sanitizer, and I'm like, "Happy birthday from the Ohio State," and we just burned rubber out of the subdivision. It was one of the he needs some pictures with it and everything. It was great.
I most certainly am not an Ohio State fan.
Uh-oh. Jake, don't hold it
Yeah,
against him.
yeah,
I'll represent
uh,
OHIO, baby.
yeah. No,
They'll
War
win it
Eagle.
one day.
I do like Auburn. Uh,
Eh,
I can't.
like I
I
said,
want
whoever plays Duke,
100%
whoever plays
cannot
Alabama.
stand. Yeah, I cannot stand Alabama.
Which, by the way, Grayson Allen is a piece of shit. I don't care who tries to convince me of what. He's a piece of shit, and he'll always be a piece of shit. And I hope he knows nothing but anguish in his entire NBA career because he's a piece of shit.
Not a basketball fan, so you've kind of lost me there.
Oh
Yeah,
God, he's dirty.
yeah. So for me, I'm hockey, baseball, and to lesser extent college football, and then NASCAR to a very lesser extent.
Look, they're making a left turn. Sorry,
So
every time I hear NASCAR, I like NASCAR, but every time I hear that, I hear the Jeff
I
Dunham
liked
thing.
NASCAR up to a point, and then they started doing all these like heats and
Yeah, that was where they
segments, and I'm
lost
like,
me.
that's where it lost me.
Dude, it was big there for a good couple of years, and yeah, and then they started doing the heats thing, and that just
Yep.
started. I'm a Jimmy Johnson guy. I like the way he drove that car,
I
that
was a Tony
48
Stewart
car.
fan.
Nashville, don't like Ohio State. Tony Stewart. It's like you're
We're
begging me.
we're
You're
never gonna be on
begging
this,
me to kick your ass.
we're never gonna be on the same page.
Ah,
That's
well, you know what? So be it. I mean, apparently you were stung as a child. It's the only way that can explain all of your many shortcomings. Um, Lord knows
okay.
that is
I
the
was
only
stepped
out
on
you
by a
have.
horse at one point, so that might have something to do with it.
Don't you
I
mean kicked in the head?
No, I ran into a doorknob when I was 4. Put this nice gash in my head.
That would explain many of your life's poor decisions, such as your sport team allegiances. Okay, it's all starting to become clear. Oh, oh man.
Nashville is like the only team from Tennessee that I'll pull for. That and the Nashville Sounds for AAA baseball.
Well, it's baseball. Baseball's baseball. It's a good excuse to go out, sit out in the sun, and get drunk.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
the 4th of
for
July only comes once a year.
major league teams. For the Giant, I'm a San Francisco Giants fan.
Nothing wrong with that, except for when they're playing
Decent,
the Cubs.
yeah, decent team. Just they have their moments. And in pro football, I'm a Green Bay fan. So yeah, there's the look. There's the look. It's like I'm gonna beat this guy. I'm gonna beat
I'm
him
gonna
up. So
go. I'm gonna have my boy Dan Perch or maybe Sam Meadowood send me down one of those ridiculous cheesehead hats. I'm gonna drive all the way down to Nashville. I'm going to find you, and I'm gonna shove that hat right down your throat.
oh
Bear
man.
down, bitch.
Oh yeah, I could see that. The Bears.
Gun to my head. Honestly, I am a football fan by the measure of whoever happens to be on my fantasy team. this year.
I seem to know a lot of people that are like that. They're like, I love this team, but
It makes the
so and so.
game more interesting to me when it's the game going on inside of the game.
Yeah,
Like,
totally makes sense. I don't do any of that. I don't do the fantasy
I
sports
had
stuff.
Eddie Jackson, the safety for the Bears this year, and it's like, all right, I'm cheering for the Bears, but I've got players on that team. So like I want the Bears to win and Eddie Jackson to have a good day. But this, that, and the other. So like I get it. And then
God, we have some really weird hobbies between the two of us. Like,
wait until I tell you about my collection of like alcohol bottles just because they're a weird shape and I find them fascinating.
you're also not the only person I know of that does that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people can see behind me like the stuff that I collect, or anybody that's followed me on social media knows about the guitar stuff or the model train stuff or the model rocket stuff. So it's like I think I think that's what we originally wanted to talk about was like
Model trains?
yes, we're going to talk about trains. No, basically learning about the person behind the stripes, just because like I for me, I don't know a lot of people that are into a lot of the same, like I don't know hardly anybody that's into model trains like I am.
I have a friend that's into like he's got the whole basement and it's got all the tracks that goes through the basement
Yep.
rooms and
That's
he paints the
that's
figurines and it's just like okay.
yep, that's me. That's so I can't do it here because this is my roommate's house. So I'm limited as to what I can do train wise. But if I have my own place, I'm gonna have like an entire downstairs. I'll literally be like Reverend Lovejoy from The Simpsons playing, playing those
The hat and
trains.
everything.
Oh,
Helen, will you please bring me my hat?
I knew that would pop you. But yeah, that, my girlfriend equates it to Gomez Adams with his trains, but I'm not crashing mine because they're expensive.
That's the only unrealistic thing about that movie. Those things are expensive. Not that the Adams family has problem with money, clearly, but still, there comes a point where even Gomez would be like, "Yeah, this costs too much." Morticia.
I currently am looking at my room and I'm like adding up dollar signs of like, wow, I have some very expensive hobbies and things that I collect. It's like, oh shit.
So, running joke in the family will be at the mall or someplace where people will go and see Santa Claus. I'll start getting like irate at the Santa Claus because I remember asking for like a train set when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I'll walk past this random fat dude in a suit, smells like cheap booze. I'm still waiting for that train set, you fat bastard! Getting irate.
See, I was lucky that my dad was into the train stuff. So when I wanted trains as a kid, it was an excuse for him to buy it. So
Ah,
it kind of worked out.
I see.
Um,
I'm picking up where you're laying down there.
yeah, unfortunately, the train stuff that he had, I've had to sell, unfortunately, because I have no place to put it, and it was just one of those things. Like once when he died, it's like, oh, I gotta figure out what to do with all this stuff. So unfortunately, I had to sell that amount of train stuff. But
No, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's been it was a rough month. Actually, today is what, the
10th.
10th. So yeah, 1 month ago, today would have been the funeral. So yeah, it's been an interesting month. So not to get all sad and stuff, but uh yeah, no, the train stuff, it's like I got out of it for a while and then I got older, or when I got older and I was like, I've got money, I can do this again.
I like trains until like the first couple of times that they like slowed me down when I was going to or from work, and then trains suddenly became less cool to me when I became the
That's
one driving the car. and had my own agenda and stuff. Because like growing up as a kid, you get stopped by the train, you're just like counting 1, 2, 3, 104.
Yeah.
Now you're just like,
Uh,
come on.
oh yeah. No, that's completely understandable. And it's if you sit back and look at like, okay, what did I like when I was like 5 years old, when I was 10 years old, 15, 20, 25, and seeing like where your interest kind of like peaks, drops, comes back. Um, it's a lot of times, a lot of people, they'll have their interest when they're kids and then it just drops off and they never pick it back up. And
Mhm.
I find that so just disheartening because uh I think so many of us probably had cool interests and got made fun of in school for it. And that's what
Wrestling.
NASA.
Wrestling. Um, I was big into Pokemon.
Same.
Long after it was cool, but mostly I stuck to like the first two gens.
That
I
same thing.
died. Like it was that weird moment where like I was still into wanting to catch them all, but then I started noticing girls and like, oh, I want to catch them all.
Yeah, I was that weird kid. I definitely was into Pokemon when it was hot and
Dude,
was
I
into it a
remember when
lot
Pokemon
longer.
cards were currency. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I'll trade
Uh
you my Mewtwo holographic for your Charizard, bro.
I can name 3 wrestlers off the top of my head that have amazing Pokemon collections because they're adults and they have the money to buy it now.
Somebody stole mine. I had this teal blue binder, and somebody legit stole my binder.
I had a teal blue one too, and an ex-girlfriend stole it, and it had
Oh no,
uh-huh.
no girlfriend stole my teal blue binder of Pokemon cards. I can promise you that.
It was an ex that I lived with, and she knew that I had some really awesome cards. And lo and behold, when we split, that was
Suddenly they
something I never
split.
got back. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's how
But
it goes too.
yeah, it's just, like I said, thinking about all the interest stuff, like I was big into NASA for a long time, and then I got bullied in school about it. So I kind of just backed off of it. And once I became an adult and I was like, screw you guys, I now have this. I have a museum in my room now of stuff that I wish that I had when I was a kid. So, you know,
See, like the like I could do that, but then I start thinking rationally. I'm like, but I have no need for it. Like I almost
I
talk myself
don't
out of it.
I don't have a need, but the interesting thing about a lot of the stuff that I have is like some of the autographs that I have and whatnot. These are from people that are not going to be around much longer.
Right.
So you know, kind of it's a little bit more important to me in that aspect. Not really the monetary value, but the sentimental value.
And
Um,
that's why like I don't get autographs from people when I meet them. I take pictures with them because like I don't want them thinking that I'm the eBay hawk trying to make a buck off their name. I just like I want to say yes, I have proof that I met this person. Here's where it happened. Here's the stupid hat I was wearing, and I go about my day.
yeah, there were a couple NASA things that I had signed specifically for uh down the line when I have my own place. It's something that I want to have and display. Um, but I was very fortunate um, to have dealings with a couple Apollo astronauts, still do, but the one that we worked with a lot with Lunar Replicas, Al Warden, he was a big advocate of our stuff, and he passed away um, last year, and that really sucked because it wasn't somebody that I got autographs from, but I got to have dinner with, got hammered
Right.
with,
You broke bread with this guy.
and you know, I that was a moment when I realized, it's cool to get the autograph, it's cool to have something signed, but to have the experience of picking the brain of the guy and laughing and um, yeah, it's to me that does mean a lot more than having an item. But then there's also been, with the COVID thing, it's like you don't get to meet them, but you could have something signed and personalized to you that means something. And I've got a few things signed by a few
Right.
guys that I got over COVID, and they're going to be when I finally have my NASA room and I can display everything. They're going to be like big centerpieces to the stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can see behind me. Actually, there's Al. I do have
Uh-huh.
something. I do have something signed by him, but yeah, it just I don't know. It's something about there could be worse things that I got into.
Oh, for sure.
I could have gotten into drugs,
I was like meth.
could be into meth. No, I want to buy trains, guitars, and NASA stuff.
I
I'm I'm like the most exciting person outside of pro wrestling.
aren't we all, brother?
Yeah.
Uh, big into baseball, big into hockey. Fantasy football has become something I've gotten more and more into as the years have gone by. Um, but mostly I like the video game and just kind of just get. It's not that I want to compete professionally or anything like that. I'm not any good. I just like getting on a headset and bullshitting while we do this common task, you know. But I'll play
That's
the guitar here and there. It's from another lifetime of ago, but mostly, yeah, that's about it, man. I'm pretty kind of low key. There was a point in time where I needed to be out in the center of the action and just in the moment. Now I kind of prefer the quiet time, which as weird as that sounds coming from me. But like, yeah, I'm kind of at that point in my life where I just kind of like keep it chill and
yeah.
you know
I think that comes with the age and the experience. I'm a high functioning introvert, so
I
I
have
can
no clue what half of that means.
Uh, I'm very introverted, so I'm very independent. I like being at home. I'm a homebody. I don't like parties or social gatherings, but I can function. Um, that's what I said. I'm a high
Um,
functioning introvert.
I don't mind going out and doing stuff. It's just my thing is like I don't know if it's like social anxiety or just like social retardation due to my ADHD, but like if I'm in like a group of two or three people, it's fine, no
Yeah, I'm
problem. But
okay.
like when I get into larger groups, I don't know how to act, what's expected of me in that group setting. Like I start to kind of like panic.
Yeah, so I have the same thing, especially when I go to a new wrestling company and I know maybe one or two people there,
I
or I don't
immediately
know
go for those
anybody at all.
guys.
I immediately
You
go for the
know,
people I know until I warm up to everybody, and it's
you kind
um
of you kind of put the vibe out there and let people kind of come into you and you go from there.
Yeah, and it's always been hard for me, especially when I was younger, that I was not I've learned to be more outgoing. Uh because like I said, when I grew up, I kinda didn't hang out with a lot of people. I was the kid that built Legos and model kits and all that stuff. I didn't interact with a lot of people. Like I said, I'm the nerdy kid. I'm the nerdy little kid, plays video games and watches movies, and that was my entertainment. I was not a social butterfly,
Like
so
I had my neighborhood friends that like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. like clockwork, man. This was before video games. We were outside playing whatever sport happened to be seasonable at that time. Spring and summer it was baseball. Fall it was and it was football and basketball. And then the winter it was snowball fights and wrestling, because you could slam your buddy into the snowdrift, you know.
yeah, I it wasn't until I moved to Knoxville, which is the eastern part of Tennessee, and it was at like the tail end of 1999 into 2000, and then I moved back to Nashville just before 2001. So I really that was the heyday for wrestling, and that's when I really got into it. Was
Brother, I took
was
more pedigrees on a day-to-day basis than half the undercard at that point because we had a kid in the neighborhood that was his guy. That when you were picking your wrestler, it was understood that Triple H was going to be played by Eli. You know,
I always picked Mankind because I liked the sock puppet. I liked Mr. Sacco. So
I was a Steve Austin guy through and through, man. He just spoke to me and where I was at that point in my life. It just spoke to me at 12 years old. I'm like, there it is. I loved
so
it.
speaking of Steve Austin, I actually made myself rewatch WrestleMania 13 the other night.
Great match with him and Brett.
I haven't watched it in 10 plus years. Not for any reason, but it's because I just, it's not been on the itinerary to rewatch. And going back and watching it, knowing what I know now about our business and hearing several podcasts. There was a Edge and Christian podcast where they had Austin and Brett on talking about that match, talking about the nuances. Then going back and actually watching it, I'm just like, my God,
So
Steve Austin was the guy.
that match is their most famous match, but for me and my money, I like the one they had at Survivor Series.
Okay.
Well, you know the one I'm talking
It
about,
was
where they do the $1 million dream into the pin.
into the pin. Yep, it's what set up the feud essentially, or it sowed the seeds for the feud. Because I
Yep.
had to sit there and think that was Survivor Series '96. So yeah, um,
I
they
like
actually
that one.
well, and the fact that they do a callback to that at WrestleMania 17, where Austin does it to Rock and
Mm-hmm.
almost gets pinned. So it's little things about pro wrestling that
It's the
are
linear storytelling, the long-term linear storytelling. What was that video a few years back? Wrestling's Not Wrestling, where they're talking about the progression of the character. It's little stuff like that that makes wrestling so awesome.
and
Um,
it's God, it was so I'm assuming that you and your friends did backyard wrestling to a degree.
well, every kid did that
Not
back in that
not
day.
not like doing the crazy hardcore stuff, but
No,
getting
no, no. But we pretend that we were, The
so
Rock and Triple H and all that
so
stuff.
yeah, so my friends and I, this is like 2002, 2003, 2004, '05 in that time frame.
Hmm,
We would do our trampoline wrestling,
of
but we
course.
did it, but we did it like we came up with characters and we came up with like backstories, and we would have the VHS camera and would cut promos on each other, and we we never did the hardcore wrestling stuff. We just wanted to do like
No,
really cool spots and turn my
yeah.
buddy's backyard into an arena, and kids from school would come watch us do it. And that's when I got the idea, or when I got the bug of like, oh, maybe I'll go learn how to do this properly. But man, it was so cool. And I think back of like the goofy promos that we did, and just what nerds.
Right?
What
Like
absolute
how
nerds.
how did our parents let us outside,
Well,
into the public?
so it's funny, because I had a trampoline where I lived, and I had a different set of friends that would come over and do the wrestling stuff. And whenever they wouldn't be able to come over, I took an old Air Force flight suit and stuffed it with a giant parachute, a bunch of old towels and sheets, and made a head for it, and made this 80 or 90 pound crash test dummy. And I would do wrestling moves to it. And I stayed in really good shape because I'd be jumping up and down on trampoline with like 90 pounds doing wrestling moves. And I think back, it's like, man, I really wish I could do that today, but I would end up in the hospital after like 5 minutes. Oh yeah, I'd have
You
a heart
pull
attack.
something, it's like now we have to semi be conscious of what we do.
I uh I did a TV taping this past weekend, and on a false finish, I did my big dramatic dive to get to the count, and I landed on my
Hmm.
hip. And I got to the back, I get to Gorilla, and I go, "Oh my God, my hip!" And they're like, "Oh, Jesse's such an old man."
See, that's why I don't do shit like that, baby, because that's wear and tear on the body. I ain't
Well,
trying to be old and broken down like you.
yeah, I know. I should
No
be.
offense, hearts
Yeah,
in the chat,
no.
bro.
The thing is, like, I do. now I'm definitely trying to work more of a TV referee style where I'm very laid back. But there are moments where my idiot brain forgets that, and it's like I get caught up in the moment. Next thing I know, I'm airborne, and I'm like, "This is gonna hurt. This is really
This
gonna
is
hurt."
gonna suck. This is gonna suck. This is gonna suck. This is gonna suck.
I did notice that when it aired last night, there were people on Twitter that were like, "Oh my god, that 2 count scared us." It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
don't encourage me to do it again because I will. It's that goofy meme. I'll fucking do it again.
Don't make me do it again, because I will.
I'll do it
Even if it
again.
kills me, I'll do it again.
I'm definitely not going to be doing it on the next TV taping. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, no, again, things that I wish I knew when I was younger. Like,
That kind of piggybacks into a book that my mother swears one day I'm going to write. The things that they don't tell you are going to happen when you become an adult. You know, all the crazy bull stuff that happens to you. I'm trying not to swear because I don't want people
I
yelling at me for swearing.
I'm trying not to either, and I know the same people would probably be like, "You guys know better." It's like, yeah, but it's part of my vocabulary. It's so I'll allot myself when I'm trying to be a little bit more professional to let one or two slip, but
It's going to happen. It's going
that's
to happen.
that's the
When you
sign of
got
us.
two people that are in locker rooms a lot, it's just gonna fall out like nothing. Like,
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
we're both in the military, so it's like it's
that was the other
language.
part too, dude. The F word is the most functional word in the human language because you can do so much with it.
That one, and for me, the C word. That was
Crap.
I no, there's a particular word that somebody was impressed with me one day that I managed to use it as an
The British
adjective.
love it. The British love it.
Yes, the
I think I know which one. Yeah.
The Australians
Uh,
love it too, and apparently I used it as an adjective, and nobody had ever heard it used in that way.
You're gonna have to tell me about this offline.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I need to hear this. But
I
no,
am the most articulate person, but when my brain decides to not worky, it's like the vulgarities come out.
oh god. Um yeah, man, it is it can be hard at times. You'll catch yourself going, all right, which crowd am I with? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. PG.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I let something slip during a tag match during TV, and I'm used to saying it on some of the shows that I'm on because it's whatever, but we literally had the talk like before the show. Remember, this is a PG show. And I'm telling guys, hey, remember it's PG. And then something happens and I drop it and
Oh.
I'm like, oh, the crowd was quiet and they heard that. So I was like,
Some parents in the crowd with their little child was like,
no, honestly, the people in the crowd were saying things way worse. The show's in Alabama, so leave that to your imagination.
check.
And yep. So the crowd was
Nothing but love for my people
throwing
in
way
Alabama,
worse
but
out there. Yeah.
check. Roll
And
Tide, all that shit.
yeah, and I just it was basically like something had happened and I saw the illegal person of the heel team like pull the rope down and start beating on the baby face. And something had happened where like I was supposed to have gotten pulled and I didn't get turned to the baby face in time. So when he finally gets in and I turn around, I go over to the heel corner because like I saw them cheating. So I have to like admonish them. And instead of just saying, you've got to knock that off, I said, you got to cut that shit out. And I said it so loud. I was like, I'm waiting to hear in my earpiece somebody yelling at me.
The PG show there, Chief. Do you want to talk that one back?
No, nobody yelled at me for it, but I was kind of mad at myself because I'm like, I shouldn't have said that.
Um, it'll. I generally don't swear in the ring, but if it's like a heated moment, I harken back to like the Kylie Ray Tessa Blanchard match for Warrior. They were on outside and working, and my count's buried, but it's the main event title match. A friend of ours
What
said,
can you do?
"Did you come here to see a count out? Or did you come here to see a finish?" So anyway, they're brawling outside, and I'm yelling, Tessa, "Come on, Tessa, get him back in the ring! They didn't pay to see this shit." I was like, actually, that's not a bad line. Come on, Tessa. What do you mean? I said they didn't pay to see this shit. Get the fuck back in the ring. Oh, there it happened.
Yeah.
It just when it's in the moment, when you're redlining,
Yeah,
when done right. I've always believed when done, when appropriate, and yes, there is an appropriate time where swearing can be done in media. Yeah, it works. But if you're
you
just
say
like,
it for the sake
1,
of
2, come
saying
on,
it,
you son of a gun, get,
if you
what?
say it because you can say it,
Yeah, if it's just
you lose.
gratuitous.
But if you know when to say it, so
it can take a 2 to a 10.
So same taping it was like a different episode, and they start the match, like guys start brawling on the outside before I can get them in the ring, and I haven't called for the bell yet, and they're brawling, and I pulled an Earl Hebner, "Get in the ring, damn it!"
Yep.
And I just remembered saying it like Earl Hebner, just like, "Get in the ring, damn it!" And somebody did say, like, "You tell him, Earl." It's like, oh, you got that. So
thanks, brother.
there's times where it makes sense, like because we both know hockey referees are notorious
Wes
for
McCauley.
No, Wes McCauley
Or
doesn't
Wes
cut.
doesn't do it, but Wes is just hilarious. I
He's
love watching
amazing.
him.
Number 4, he's awesome. No, there was a Predators game.
McCauley.
Oh yeah, love Wes McCauley. It's when I'm telling people, like, there's times for referees to be emotional, and it's like, look at a hockey referee. You're gonna see some that like 2 minutes tripping. It's like but you get Wes McCauley. We got 5 minutes for fighting. Oh man, the crowd's like suddenly fired up. It's like, oh,
there's gonna be that old school mentality of it's not about you. But in terms of hockey, man, it's all for entertainment. Anything and everything to get something out of that crowd.
The best I remember was there was a French Canadian ref, and it was a Vegas Knights versus Nashville game. And
they both lose?
Yeah. James Neal had done something. It was, I think it was James Neal.
Oh, I hope it wasn't serious.
I think it was an embellishing call. Like he was
not him.
Right. And I remember the official was chirping him and didn't realize his mic was on. And he goes, "No, Naylor, fuck you, get in the box." Yeah, James Neal, 18, 2 minutes for embellishment. And it's like,
and he goes back to chirping him.
Oh yeah, and I remember watching the game going like, wow, that ref was mad.
They're gangsters, dude. Hockey referees are gangsters because you got to have a couple of screws loose to want to play hockey at that level. So you can imagine what the referees have to be like.
Well, a lot of those refs are former hockey players.
Oh yeah, so they're not playing with the full deck.
Okay, so you look at a basketball official or a football official, and they're very uniform. They're very precise, to the point, unemotional.
My
hockey referees are just like, go ahead and fight.
Yeah, my favorite. I don't know what it is, but he's my favorite. There's this referee for football. He's he has a lisp, but it sounds more like he's just from the deep south of Georgia, and he's my favorite just because you just want to give him a hug. Offside on the defense, 5-yard penalty, first down. And just it's like, oh, I want to hug you.
No. If he sounds like that, it's like, oh, it's like Dusty Rhodes calling
Dusty Rhodes, baby, if you will. I remember getting so much flack for wearing glasses as a referee. As you should. You're a piece of shit.
Somebody, I remember everybody saying, like, you will never see a football referee ever wearing glasses. Fun fact, I've seen
will.
I've seen 2 pro football games where the referees were wearing glasses, and I'm like, you know what?
I think more referees should wear glasses because then when they suck at what they do, at least they don't have the out to say, "Oh, yeah, no, you wear glasses, bro. We know you wear glasses, and clearly, we got you."
Well, so fun things that I can do that other referees can't is that we can do interesting finishes around me not having my glasses on or getting around spots. It's just yep, I see you.
Lord,
You're doing it.
you already know where I'm going with this. You already know who I'm thinking of, and you already know what they're gonna say.
Oh yeah. No, I know 100% who's going to be like, "Yeah, no, that's stupid." Uh just it was sometime last year I was filling in at a show and they were trying to come up with this finish and they're like, okay, well, we're going to take out one of the baby faces and the 2 heels are going to beat the absolute crap out of the other baby face. At some point you're going to take a bump and both the heels are going to put a submission onto the baby face and like he's going to pass out and you're going to call for the bell. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Let's do this. I have glasses. I take the bump. I'm going to knock my glasses off. I'm going to start coming to when the baby face is in his submission hold or getting the submission hold applied. Let him pass out. But the manager on the outside is going to be smacking the mat. And I'm going to call for the bell that way. And they're like, oh my God, that's so creative. And I said, I've got the out. It's like, I didn't know who it was. I heard tapping, didn't have my glasses on. There you go. So I know you want to say something.
I do. You
Go
can't
ahead.
call what you don't see, Rep.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I remember doing something very early as a referee. It was an interesting spot where you know how like the heel manager will have a handful of freedom powder and he goes to throw it at the baby face.
Powder. What the hell?
I watched
Hold on. Time out. Walk this back for a second. When did it become freedom powder? What did I miss? What did I miss? Sorry.
Have you ever watched OSW Review?
No. Can't say that.
Okay. It's a reference to so whenever a heel throws like salt or baby powder, they call it freedom powder because they're from Ireland and it's a funny thing. I've just always said freedom powder because it pops me.
It popped me. I mean, what the hell?
So imagine if you will, heel manager goes to throw the powder into a baby face's face. They duck. The referee's there. The referee gets hit in the face.
Ref takes it.
And then ref takes it. All sorts of shenanigans happen while the ref's trying to get powder out of his face. We did that to me. I get hit and I just do this. What are you doing? Like I because it left an outline of my glasses on my face. I could take it off and I could see, and it just there were interesting finishes that we could do because I had glasses that we could work around that.
My
and
glasses. I can't see without my glasses. Whatever, Velma.
we did a spot where I got my glasses knocked off mid-match and I had to crawl around on the mat like Velma to look for my glasses. It happened. It happened. It really it was a sort of a comedy match.
Clearly.
Like at the point where I'm getting my glasses, I'm like on all fours like a table and the baby face shoves the heel over me and I go over and make a count. So it's like when there's 10 people in the crowd, you really gotta really work to get those 10 people to sound like 11.
I've only ever done a 10 people show once, but that was once, and it was for a very noble cause.
I've worked many shows where the crowd was under 20.
Well,
I work in Tennessee. That's kind of like a running theme here.
Oh, okay. I've never been to Tennessee, at least not that I remember. I'm sure I may have driven through it at one point. But
That's the best thing to do is drive through it, keep going.
like y'all got hockey and a mayor that's lit people on fire. So I mean, like you got some things to see.
Yeah, that's Knox County.
So
I don't live in Knox County.
smarten me up about Knox County. What's that like?
So I did live in Knoxville about 20 years ago. It was really, really nice. Every time I visit up there now, um, and I'm with a wrestling company, I always try to promote the show. Like, oh, I got this wrestling show. Oh, hey, the mayor is a wrestler.
No, he's a
Really?
mayor. Really? What's his name? I've never heard of him before ever.
Oh yeah, he used to be in the WCW or something. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's
Just like
outstanding. WCW.
if I'm lying, I am dying. There have been a few
That's pretty
places.
good.
Or do you ever get that thing like when somebody finds out, oh, you're in pro wrestling? Hey, you know the Undertaker, right? No, I
He was in
don't.
Suburban Commando, right?
I usually come up with something like I'll come up like, oh yeah, he
Mean
used
guy,
to,
right? Pretty
yeah,
callous.
real. Yeah, that's clever.
Uh,
I'm gonna steal that.
I'm a mark for good humor. What can I say? I mean,
But it's that whole like, oh, did
oh,
oh God, I had some old woman at a Walmart like, hey, did you ever work with Jackie Fargo?
so um,
I did a tribute show that he was at. That's the extent of it.
we went to a Hooters one time after a show with it was a
As you
couple of my
do.
yeah, a couple of my buddies and Rhino. My friend who I've alluded to in the past, Tristan Hayes. A lot of my good wrestling stories actually include Tristan Hayes. My friend Tristan Hayes, when I first met him, I walked in, I went, huh, that's where X-Pac went. Because he kind of looks like him. But like if you're really drunk and looking at him from across the room in just the right angle, he does look like X-Pac, to the same kind of build and everything like that. But anyway, um, we go out to Hooters, and the waitress is like sort of, she's watched wrestling once in her life type of thing. She's aware of it. She's heard a name or two. So, um, right, my buddy goes to the bathroom, and the waitress is like, "Aren't you a pro wrestler?" You're, she says to Rhino, she's like, aren't you a pro wrestler? Aren't you? I could have sworn I seen you. He's like, yeah, I'm a pro wrestler. Well, which one are you? He's like, you gotta guess. And she goes away, and and my buddy comes back to the bathroom, and we tell him what's going on. It's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you're Jim Ross, and that's the Undertaker. So she comes back and she's like, you're that rhinoceros guy. No, 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 I'm not Rhino. I'm the Undertaker. And for like the next 40 minutes, we have this lady convinced that this guy's the Undertaker, and we're getting free drinks and all sorts of free food. Bear in mind, Rhino's like maybe 6 foot tall, depending on which pair of his boots he's wearing, type of
I
deal.
saw him this past weekend.
I love him.
He
I
was in
love
sandals.
Rhino.
He
I
was in
Yep,
sandals.
yep. Rhino is one of the coolest cats I've ever met. I love
Super
Rhino.
cool. Super cool. Dude.
I I wish him nothing but the best. Every time I get to see him is a good time. But yeah, ask him the next time you see him about being the Undertaker at a Hooters one time in Maryville, and he'll probably get a big grin on his face.
We're gonna have so many of these stories that we tell each other that we're gonna have to like remember the list of people that we need to. Hey, by the way, do you remember this story? Um,
Some of my best stories I can't tell.
I can't either because I want to be employed by a company at some point. I'd like to not. I'd like to not have that on the internet. So
Right. maybe in private company I'll tell a few of them, but I got a
Yeah,
couple of
no.
good ones.
Well, I
Not that
think that's
anything
with
bad happened. It's just I don't want to start, going into how I was in that situation type of thing.
yeah, it certain names
Yeah,
would probably because I was around certain people at that time, it's like they're not
right.
in high standing now. It's like,
Oh, I got one about somebody that's not really at high standing right now. We brought
I
Teddy Hart into Black Label one time, and I had
why do
the
I feel like
the
I know where this is going?
um I got to take him back to the hotel and make sure he got settled in, but he wanted to go out to eat first. I was like, all right, sure, cool. I'll go hang out with Teddy Hart. I was very naive to who Teddy Hart was. I had heard stories, but I was like, come on, this is wrestling. We all embellish stories, right? This story, I swear to you, is word for word the honest to God truth. We go out to this little place there here in Maryville, and he wants like an Irish nachos and a lemonade type of thing. And we're just shooting the shit, and food shows up, and I'm eating my food, and he gets the Irish nachos, he eats a couple bites of it, calls the waitress over, and the waitress is like, yeah, honey, what's up? He's like, this is awful. Can I don't want it anymore. Oh, no, no problem, no problem. I'll take it off your bill. We'll just charge you for the drink. No problem, no problem. She walks away. He starts just eating more and more and more, and he eats the whole damn thing. Got charged only for the lemonade, mind you.
That's God, that is so carny.
Very. It blew my mind. I'm like, oh my god! Like I'm sitting here going through. All right, so if the cops get called, am I involved in this in any way, shape, or form? Like, is this like a dine and dash? And now I'm okay. No, it's not. I can't be an accomplice because I have the keys. Okay, we're good.
I I'm very thankful. There's only been a few instances where I've had to drive name wrestlers, and it's been very pleasant interactions. I think one of the more interesting ones, the car I used to have was a 2007 Monte Carlo. It's a two door, two
Yep.
seater with like a back seat. And after doing a show, I had to drive S.A. Rios and Psychosis back
Now
to their
there's a
hotel.
car ride.
There's a car ride because I do not speak Spanish and they don't speak English very well. So trying to have conversation with them was actually very interesting. But uh, the funny thing was like we're all kind of limping and we're all hurting, and they're like, I just remember they're like, oh, ibuprofen. Yeah. It's like, oh, we'll go get ibuprofen. And trying to get S.A. Rios out of the back seat of my car. Me and Psychosis are both trying to help him out because we're all very, very sore because we put on a really great show. And we all shuffle into a Kroger's at like 11:30 at night
Oh man.
to go to, and they buy this giant bottle of the 500 count ibuprofen.
Yep.
And I just, we're all shuffling. I take them back to their hotel, and it, I've got those kind of stories. Or
There was we did a joint show with Impact a year or two back with Warrior, and like we did one show out in like South Bend, Indiana, and then we came back for Chicago Heights the next night. um Impact was doing like some signings up at Pro Wrestling Tees, and they were trying to organize drives for for the wrestlers from the hotel to the and back again. And I get uh I get volunteered for it because I'm on the next show anyway, so why not? I'm driving this beat up, run down, needs new suspension ass Toyota Corolla, over 300,000 miles on it. The AC doesn't work. This thing is a jalopy held together with love and duct tape. And I I get Rhino and Rosemary, and and
those
and,
are two people I would love to have a hockey conversation with.
Oh, dude, Rhino is a big time Detroit guy. But I uh I felt so bad because again, it's a Toyota Corolla, and Rhino decides he's gonna sit in the front seat because he's not gonna sit in the back seat, but the Corolla doesn't. So you got big ass Rhino sit there in the front seat, like he's using my thigh as a freaking armrest. And then there's Rosemary sitting in the back. She's got her knees up to her chin, because Rhino. It's just like, man, all we need is a couple of clowns, and we're just one stop away from the circus.
Uh, God, that is like I said, meeting because I worked with Rhino this past weekend. He is a refrigerator of a human being. He's just
And one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
he was super cool.
Yeah, super chill.
I he had a seminar and I was watching how he was explaining stuff to people, and I was like, wow, it's
Learned a lot from
very,
working with
very,
Rhino.
very sharp guy.
Yep.
But one person I did get to drive, and it was completely unexpected, was Alex Shelley. I
Mhm.
had to drive him from venue to his hotel in East Tennessee, which is from the venue to his hotel by the airport was like an hour and 20-minute drive. And he and I were talking, and I told him about the injuries that I have, and because he's uh, physical therapist or
Right,
sport,
right.
sports medicine stuff like that, it went from the typical conversations to him asking how I got hurt, what I did to rehab, what I was doing, and then he started giving me a lot of advice, and I just thought, man, this is so cool. Like I had no idea this is how my night was going, was
Right. You don't see that coming.
getting to pick this guy's brain, not about wrestling, but about like taking care of the human
About
body.
life. Yeah.
And I've learned when I'm on these road trips with people, if I get people in the car with me, like I enjoy the wrestling talks, but I love it when we talk about stuff that's not wrestling related. That's why you and I started this podcast, was
Gangrel.
specifically to talk to wrestling people. Like it's cool to talk wrestling, but there's so much more to what we
This is the
do.
fun part of wrestling. This is the life experiences you get. This is where you get to enjoy them and share them, and just kind of contribute to the light side of the wonderful thing that is the professional wrestling business, because as unfortunately we all know, there is a dark side to wrestling that is alive, and it is well, and it
And
isn't going anywhere,
so
and
I'm
it's our
so
job
glad
to make it be better than it was.
I'm so glad that a lot of the darkness of pro wrestling is being pushed out, and there's so much positivity and real brotherhood. Like,
Brother.
yeah, not that kind of brother, I need you to keep this on the DL kind of
Kayfabe,
stuff.
brother.
It's, looking out for each other, protecting each other, keeping
Yeah,
each other from and
don't be a
and
douchebag.
and and I will say this, I've worked with a lot of amazing people. I've worked with a lot of genuine human beings. The one person that I wish I could road trip with more, and I did one road trip with him, was Alex Zane.
Oh, dude, now you make me want Taco Bell.
Yep. Uh,
I
I cannot sing his praises enough because I would get real negative about myself and stuff that I did, and he would get mad at me and would tell me like, "Dude, no, you can't look at it like that." And he would, I mean, we were married to each other for a whole weekend when I went up to do trio. So I was in the car with him. That's all we did was talk. And
um
just one of the best people to have conversations about life
and the
in general.
success that he is now enjoying is well deserved just on that merit alone. Um Real talk, pulling the curtain back a little bit, like pretty much the from the first match, we never ever did anything serious in the ring. Like he'd go out there and I'd be admonishing, but underneath my voice, I'm talking about, man, I'll tell you what, I had this chalupa, or I had this quesarito the other day and it was freaking delicious. I think we should go get one after. Just completely not taking the moment seriously, but we're still going through the motions, but we're we're and from the first match to the last time I worked with him, we were just cutting up the entire time because
Yeah.
He's just one of those people, just like he's got a light about him.
Yeah, and that's why I got like a lot of life talk from him. Because he was telling me, he's like, dude, flat out, I was done with pro wrestling. He's like, I was basically settled myself that I was going to be doing this, this, and this. And then I got the itch to start doing stuff again. And this was what, 2000 and
19,
no,
18.
2018.
Yeah.
Um, he's like, I got this. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna do everything I can to do stuff. And this was at a point where I had just worked with him at the company I had worked for. No, this is 2019 because it was the last King of Trios,
Mm-hmm.
and I had worked with him and was like, oh, dude, you went and did this GCW backyard show and you got gift like 2 or 3 times, and then you suddenly blew up. And he goes, dude, I had no idea.
It can
He's
happen
like,
just like that too.
because he said, he's like, I just went out there and did stuff that we wanted to do, and then now all of a sudden I've got these people calling me and wanting me to go to these places. And he told me then about the interest from certain companies.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know what? I don't want to settle just yet. I want to get my fill going and all that stuff. And it was so cool getting to experience that stuff and getting he opened up to me about that kind of stuff, and I opened up to him about a lot of um the uh the stuff I dealt with wrestling. And it was just, I really wish I could have had more time with hanging out with him.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the world we live in is like, even though guys like Alex Zane are no longer on the indie circuit, the friendships you make, they're just a text message away, stuff like that. And, that is the thing. It's not like it used to be, 2000, where, somebody gets that call, you never see them again until they're out of contract, unless you live near them. And
Yeah.
so now the world has gotten smaller thanks to the adventures, the
Advent of the internet and social
yes,
media.
thank you. I'm running on fumes here. Um, but
I am too.
yeah, but like I said, guys like Alex, they're always going to be there for you if you need them. And that's the wonderful
he
thing about the state of wrestling we find ourselves in right now, is there's more Alex Zanes in the world than there were before.
he's such a good brother. When I finally put a t-shirt up on Pro Wrestling Tees, he's the first person to buy the
That
shirt.
is outstanding.
So he's one of only 2 people that own a referee Jesse Fields shirt. And there's some people that'll say, well, that's 2 people too many, but
Nah, I'm
is
just
what
too
it is.
cheap to buy your shirt now.
I'm actually so one of the guys that works at New South he's got his own screen printing stuff. So he's like, dude, give me your design. We'll make shirts for you. So I'm like,
There you go. Well, maybe we'll have to talk to him about making our Pop Goes the Zebra t-shirt idea, maybe.
oh yeah, absolutely.
But all right, man, I think that we have chewed the fat more than enough for tonight.
We're getting the crossed arms, the
We're getting the pencil, we're getting the red light, we're getting the god damn it, take it home. They're screaming in the earpiece. We're going over seg time. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna try to work on when exactly our release day is going to be in the week. Go back and if you like this episode, go back and watch our previous episodes that are up on our YouTube channel. In the meantime, again, thank you for watching, and hopefully next week we'll have a pretty big surprise for you. I'm excited. I don't know if you knew about this, Jesse. I may not have told you. I went and got us our first guest.
yeah. I
Oh,
think
I did tell you. Yeah.
yeah, you did.
It's gonna be pretty big. Well, you'll see. It's really exciting. We're gonna get a good aspect of what a referee is to other parts of the business. So with that little teaser, we'll leave you for the night, and we'll drop more information on that guest in the coming days. But in the meantime, thank you, and have a pleasant evening.